There. And I'm going to go ahead and click go live here, but it's going to take about 10 seconds here. And then I got to click another button. So that way it's not live yet, or at least we hope not. See. There we go. Okay. So we're not live yet. I have to click one more button here, but I am going to minimize my screen, clear my throat with my allergies. Because as soon as I do this, we're going to be going live. All right, live video is starting. Woohoo! And we are live. And you can see it. Welcome to the party. I'm Laura Baker of Everyday Horsemanship, and I'm happy to be here. I've got Cindi on the line here, and I'm going to ask everybody, let me know if you can see and hear me okay out here. I'm just going to pin this to the top real quick here. Just give me a hot second and tag everyone so that they know that we are live in the group. And just give me a half a second here. We are live. Woohoo! Okay, we're all pinned. So I'm really excited because tonight, as you guys may know, I've been interviewing clients for the past year inside my Facebook group. And, you know, basically since I've launched my Liberty program, and these are clients who've taken, you know, all of my step-by-step principles in Liberty and have applied it to their own horses. So, you know, I've had several clients achieve Liberty success within my program, but today's call really has a special place in my heart because Cindi here has come a long way in her relationship with her Mustang, Mollie. And I can relate because I have a very sensitive Mustang named Matanui, or Matanui, Mott for short, who I withdrew from the 2023 Extreme Mustang Makeover because of the challenges she had in accepting her human environment, her very new human environment, right? And as many of you know, I adopted Mott into my world, into my family permanently, and into my Liberty team. And she's now that strong powerhouse within my Liberty team and is doing such a phenomenal job. And we have Cindi here, who's achieved something truly remarkable with her Mustang, Mollie. Cindi has really transformed her relationship with Mollie from one of tension and uncertainty into a deep, trusting connection. And I can't wait for you all to hear her story of overcoming challenges, building communication, and achieving liberty with her horse. Her results have been amazing so far. And I'm not going to take away the words out of your mouth, Cindi, but you've had some amazing results from my program. And so we're going to talk about how you did that. But I say, welcome to the party, Cindi. So let's dive in. Cindi, people on these lives, they love to get a little background. Tell us a little bit about where you started with Mollie and what inspired you to pursue Liberty training. You know, give us a little bit about Mollie's background, and then we can go into the meat and potatoes of it in just a bit, the challenges you faced and how you overcame them with my Liberty method.
You should start with her background. We got her about 3.5 years ago. I actually picked her up from I didn't know much about horses, and we went to a barn that they were bringing in a whole bunch from an auction out in Iowa. And we were in Ohio. And when we got there the next day, they had probably 35 horses lined up all just tied in their barn. They had just came off a truck after 16 hours. And I hear rumors later that he's a little bit questionable. We'll just use that. Well, half the horses on the trailer were emaciated looking and, obviously weren't going to make it very long. And she was just tied up in the little corner next in between two percherons and just panicked looking. And I don't know, something about her eyes softened every time I walked near her. And when the guy said she was $1,000, I just grabbed the lead and started walking with her to the trailer and said, she's coming with me. And he told us some lies that she was driven into the stadium with a child riding her, which we learned pretty quickly that it's very unlikely that was happened unless she was very drugged. We got her home and she took off in the field, and it took us 2 weeks to catch her. And after that, it was just a constant, just working with her. She was extremely head shy. You raised her hand at all and she would cower. And any chance she gets, she'd run away from you. So we did quite a bit of training. She went to a trainer and she came back ridden, and she'd done really great, but she'd had an injury with her neck was out at that time. And she had some hormonal issues. So they just kind of said, this is all we can do for now until she gets better. So I had started working, they recommended positive reinforcement, and I'd started trying a couple programs of positive reinforcement with her, some one-line ones. And she just kind of didn't take to it. I learned things I taught my other horses with, but she just kind of really didn't like it, didn't seem to care. So time went on and she was following me. I had learned in a round pen, I could, cue her, and she was starting to follow me, and she would do pretty much all of her groundwork at Liberty. So I felt like that was a huge success. I had no horse experience, so that was really big to me, but I wanted to do what I'd seen in shows and online and stuff. So after trying several other programs, I figured I'm not going to learn anything virtually, but I'll keep trying. And I had met you about 1.5 years ago briefly when your husband was in the makeover that you pulled Mott from. And you had mentioned Mott being really sensitive and working with her at Liberty. And I thought, oh, that's what I need to do. I need to follow somebody like that. So I looked your name up and I started following your free classes, just
Wow.
videos you post. And I kept saying, I'm going to try this. I'm going to try this. And of course, just watching, I kind of didn't really get very far. I mean, I had her, like I said, she'd follow me. What I thought I was doing changes of direction, but that was about it. And I talked to you about probably last winter originally, and was gonna, once I finished the program I was working through, I was gonna sign up with you. But then when I got through the other program and I was disappointed, I was like, I don't want to pay for another program that just isn't going to get anywhere. And till you had an option, I think it was in July, about a week free where you could look through your stuff and cancel in that week. And I finally said, okay, I'm going to try it. It was that, and the same week you had done a live where it just showed the 5 basic groundworking exercises to start Liberty.
Oh yeah, July 4th, actually.
Okay, so it was all right about that time. And I went through that, and the only one that we didn't know without whips anyway, that was the big thing, is I thought she was going to freak out to whips, was the half moon. I couldn't figure out how to do, because it was just a quick blurb you showed on it. And I was like, okay, I'm going to go ahead and try this so I can go look through her videos and I can see if there's just like the other program or if it's something I can work from. And so that's kind of what sold me, is that's how I started with that. I think, was that the rest of the question?
Yeah. No, I love that. I love all that. And
I knew within the second day of watching the videos that I was going to stay with the program.
Good. That's great to hear, because I know we've talked a lot, but not quite to that depth. And I appreciate hearing that for sure, because I take great pride in teaching people. But let's talk a little bit about that. You mentioned you've been in the learning community for a while, and this isn't your first rodeo taking online instruction, right? So,
right.
And this isn't your first time buying virtual coaching online of some sort of program. You've experienced other programs, and you talked about that. You mentioned that they weren't working for you. What were some of the challenges you were still facing with Mollie, when we first started talking then? I know you had mentioned that catching was an issue. and Mollie being quite sensitive, but just kind of break some of those things down that you were struggling with, because I mean, you're not the only one who's been down that road of the people listening tonight.
Well, to start with, I was trying to use the whip to cue and less than my hand, or just my hand or the lead rope, because I realized I would be limited in what I could teach her. And at first, the whip she was afraid of. And I think one of your first week or two was just holding the whips, one on each side, and walking with them. And if they walk a couple feet, just give me a treat. And I started working with that. That was one of the big ones. From the other programs, one of them was like rapid firing, giving treats over and over again. And that like overstimulated her. And she thought that was scary. She wanted one treat real slow, and that was it.
Wow.
So that obviously wasn't going to work.
I'm not familiar with the rapid fire concept, but interesting.
Yeah, I think it was just initial to teach them that you're giving them treats. And it did work with the Mustang I had that was still pretty wild at the time. But with Mollie, it was like, why you keep throwing these things at me? What are you going to try to do to me? You know, that just wasn't going to work.
Right.
Everything with her, I had to just take it slower, take deep breaths and breathe in. So some of the, just even taking one step, you almost had to get her used to you moving that direction, and she wasn't going to step and be okay with that before it was okay to take a step.
Yeah.
You have to really break everything down for her. I don't know. I think that was
and those are, I mean, those are powerful observations that you made with your own horse. And I think so many people watching, you know, right now, Cindi, I believe that they can relate to what you're saying, because, you know, and let me put it this way, and this helps me to make sure that everybody can still hear us, and things are moving well on the live stream end. But if you can relate out there, if you guys are listening and you can relate out there to struggling with a sensitive horse, type "me too" in the chat, if you would, in the comments, and that'll help me to know how many people out there can relate to Cindi's story and what's going on in their own lives. But also, it also tells me that, you know, we're working through things. Because I see Candace says her connection is bad, but she sees us just frozen on her end. I just want to make sure it's not us that are frozen. Things are looking good here on this end, but for me. But anyway, let's talk a little bit. Once you started implementing the exercises and concepts, Cindi, within the virtual program, what were you mentioned your second day or the second video or whatever, that you were like, yep, this is good. What were the biggest changes you noticed, though, over, you know, just once you started implementing it, not just in Mollie's behavior, but also in how you felt working with her?
I understood things more from your videos because you broke it down as well. And she seemed to understand at first, you know, switching from no whips to using a whip, or when she was used to lead rope to yield her hindquarters versus just the whip or leaning in towards her, took a little bit of practice. I think by the second day, though, she kind of understood. It was a little bit of a language curve. Backing up took a few minutes, look a bit. She used to back up with just me pointing and back, but me with the whip in my hand, she wasn't sure if she should back up, run, turn around, what she should do. Things like that. By the second day, I'm trying to think, she was starting to understand, like we had already been doing hinding yield can't speak tonight, yielding her hindquarters automatically. Like when I would turn her out before I would let her go, but she wouldn't get a treat when I would let her go until I yielded the hindquarters in a complete circle both directions. So she already knew that, and then just using it with the whip in my hand. And I don't know if it was really the first or the second day. I think it was a couple days later. I was trying and I had both whips in my hand, and she wasn't panicking. Before, if she saw a whip, she would have been running around the round pen. I think that was the biggest thing I noticed right away. And she started not keeping her head quite as high. She held her head a little bit lower and almost more like, I don't know, she kind of holds her head down like this, almost like she's holding her back. More proper. My brain is not working for words. No. But she's holding her head more proper, like right away. Like she was happy that she knew what I wanted and she wasn't guessing would be the
That's
biggest thing.
awesome. That's
I think
awesome.
that she's always been big on routine. So when it was not only routine, but she knew what I wanted from her, she just seemed excited. And as time went on, definitely by the third or fourth week, she started prancing. I think I had videoed it and I called you and I'm like, is she trying to run me over or what's she doing? And she was actually happy. She started trotting up to me and prancing up to me, shaking her head, but it was, I feel good and I'm happy doing this right. Like that was the biggest thing. But I was afraid she was going to run me over and try to kill me.
In her enthusiasm.
And that's funny now because now it's been, we're working on like the 12th week, but it's been longer than that. We had some delays going through it, but now she'll run around the field and you'll see her prancing. And then she starts prancing up to me, doing the same thing with her head. Like that's her. Okay, I'm ready to come play with you.
I mean, that's amazing to hear because she's looking forward to her sessions with you because of the relationship that you have, you know, built with this whole Liberty program. And I know one of the things that we emphasize in the program is that Liberty goes far beyond teaching your horse specific skills or actions. It's really about building that true partnership based on trust and understanding, which is what you have now with Mollie.
Mm-hmm.
When you started to see those changes in Mollie, did you have any aha moments or where it just clicked, or was it more of a gradual shift?
Work clicked with me or with her?
Yeah, with you. Like, yeah, I mean, well, probably both, really. That's a great question. No, when you started to see the changes within Mollie, you know, because you even mentioned that there was something more even within you that started to change. And so,
Yeah,
first of
it
all,
started with,
yeah,
oh, sorry, go ahead.
yeah, no, go ahead. I mean, what was it an aha moment? Did you have a gradual shift? And when you were seeing these changes within Mollie, what was it?
I think we were working on the half moon exercise and I was trying to record it for you. And I could not, didn't think I was doing it right. And I didn't think I could get it. And it was just all of a sudden, we just both of us kept working at it. And I was ready to give up. And all of a sudden she started crossing her legs and going sideways, right? Just one or two steps. And I was like, wait, I think that was it. And I remember I sent a short, probably one of my shortest weekly videos I sent in,
Yeah,
probably only a minute and a half. And I was like, okay, is this right or wrong? Because if this is right, I think we can go forward. And
right.
you loved that video. You said that was perfect. And that's exactly what we've been doing. And I think both of us felt better from that point on. It was like she realized, okay, I'm doing what you want and you're happy. And I realized I was actually teaching her what I wanted to teach her.
Yeah.
And
And
that's when everything changed.
and in all fairness, and I told you right from the beginning, as I tell everybody, is that is the one hardest exercise out of all of them. And once you get past that, it's a lot easier. But that one exercise,
And
it is very difficult for people and horses.
we really had to break it down. I was combining what she already knew. I'm like, okay, we know how to side pass. How can we break this down and slightly turn? And that's kind of what did it.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and I know you just recently you told me about, kind of along the same lines here, something that just happened when you and your horses moved to your winter place in Florida. Do you want to touch on that for a minute? Because I think that was such a monumental moment for you.
Yeah. Well, it actually started with what I didn't share with you is right before we got on the trailer, in the trailer to come down here, she didn't want to load. She hadn't loaded in a couple years, and I really didn't think it would be a problem. And it was still dark, so she was just adamant she wasn't going to load on the trailer. And the more you fight with her, the more she's not going to do it. And I walked away with her. I took her from my husband, and I walked away down the road a little bit with her, and I walked back up, and I was just holding my whip like I would be walking with her at Liberty, even though I had her on the lead line, and started to walk towards the trailer. And I was just running a ton. I'm like, come on, step up, come on. And she just got all the way up to the trailer that way for the first time. And she hadn't gone within 30 feet of it before that.
Wow.
So just having her the lead, just holding the whip in my hand, just on the side of me, I wasn't even thinking about it, that it was in the other arm. It's like, oh, I know what we're doing. Of course, she still took a little bit to step in, but she got all the way up to it. Like, okay, I'm with you. I'm doing what we're supposed to do. And then so it was a rough ride. We were doing it straight through. The vet recommended that would be better, less stress wise, since she holds a lot of stress with her and gets real tense and causes neck stuff. So he said, just do straight all the way through, give her wet hay and get there as soon as you can. Don't try to stop. So that's what we did. And the 14-hour drive ended up almost 19 or 20 hours. We ended up with a blown tire on the way just before Atlanta. And of course, the tire that had to come off was right next to her. But so she was not happy as you hear the drill and taking the thing off. At least it was my husband that got to do it. But she was not happy with that. And she was stomping in the trailer. And then 6 more hours before we got here. And we got here like 2 a.m. And we were all tired and I wasn't paying attention. And my husband went to get her out real quick and he didn't shut the door of the trailer when he went to unhook her to grab her halter. And I forgot to tell him, she doesn't like to be grabbed on the side of her halter right here. Always grab underneath here. And I didn't think about it to tell him. And he reached up and he went to unhook and grabbed like this. And she jerked out of his hand, snapped the nylon, which I've never seen him snap like that. Snapped the nylon and she took off out into the field. Fortunately, it was in the field, but it was real foggy and you couldn't see anything. Mist was coming up and she just disappeared into the 3 acres, which isn't the end of the world, but it was grass she hadn't been on. And I was planning on keeping her installed in a dry lot for the small dry lot in the back for a while. And we couldn't catch her, obviously, at that point. After you could hear her letting down and relaxing and blowing out. So I knew she was relaxing. And then we'd see her prance by us, like happy, but staying just out of reach. I was like, I am not going to catch her when I can't see. This grass is wet. We'd been up all night. Right. And my husband's like, just go to bed. She's not leaving her son. We already had him out and he was in a stall. She's like, she's not going to leave him. So she's not going to run and jump a fence or anything. And I panicked on that because when we had first gotten her 3 years ago, she did jump the fence and start to take off. So I thought she's acting like she did that day, like brought back PTSD to me. So I went to get 2 hours sleep thinking she's not going anywhere. And I woke up about 2 hours later, the sun was up and I'm like, I just got to check, make sure she was there. When I walked out in the field, she was way in the back and I started walking out and I was like, I'm just going to have coffee and stand here and watch her for a minute. And she came running up to me. And I kind of ignored her and I walked over towards the barn where her son was. And she came running all the way up to me and kind of doing that prance trot thing that she does with her face. And I looked at her and she's standing like 10 feet from me. And I was like, oh my gosh, she's doing the thing she does with her face, like when she's paying attention to me. And I was like, do I try it? And I just took 3, quick steps back. And I was like, here, Mollie. And I've kind of pointed to me. She came trotting right up and stood right there next to me. And I was like, tears falling in my eyes. I didn't have treats. I didn't have a halter or anything. And so I just kind of took my arms like I would a whip and to circle her around and got her in front of the barn and said, back up. And she backed herself right into her stall. Wow. And I was able to lock her in. I sat there and cried because I thought we were going to have hours of chasing or fighting with her the next day because a new place. And she backed right up in.
Yeah, so I could hear the emotion in the voice message you left me.
Yeah, I had to tell you, and I figured telling you that way was better than trying to text it. I couldn't write at the moment. Tears were streaming down my eyes, and she was just standing there in the stall by that point, looking at me like, what are we doing now?
Do you think that she would have done that 6 months ago?
I know she wouldn't have. Yeah. There's no doubt she would not have done that. And since we've been here, started letting her out, since she'd already been out for 2.5 hours on the pasture with no stomach issues. I started letting her out right away for 2 hours at a time. And when I'm ready for her to go back in, I just call her and she's been coming running back up and walking right in.
That's so inspiring, Cindi. I really love hearing that and hearing that story again. I have to say I had goosebumps again, just because for those that didn't get to hear even the voice message that I got to hear, the raw emotion in Cindi's voice. And I could hear, Cindi, that you were in tears almost, but joy. But I could tell you were still somewhat shook up by the situation, but how happy you were that this turned out the way it did. And I think that that's such a key takeaway for everyone watching. Cindi, can you share a few of the specific exercises or steps you used from the Liberty experience that made the biggest difference in your journey with Mollie? I mean, what helped you build that trust and connection?
I think just she knew that if she did what I wanted, I'm not sure exactly what you're looking for, but if she knew that she did what I wanted, I'd give her the treat and I wasn't going to ask anything else of her. Um, was she learned to trust me. And then I don't know what it was said at Liberty Festival or somewhere else where you've got to trust your horse sometimes, and you have to trust they're going to do what you tell them to do. And that starts creating the bond when you just, okay, you're going to do this. And I believe you're going to do this. And with her coming running back like that, that's the kind of thing that breaks that creates that trust, is she knows I'm not going to ask much more. And she knows what I'm asking. And then I know she's going to follow through.
Right. Yeah, because that a lot of that was laid out for you too within the program and helped you. Now,
Really,
yeah,
sorry.
no, go ahead.
The backup is probably the backup, and learning to high yield, and then even moving the front quarters has helped with almost everything I do. I've got all four of my horses doing that. And so I don't even have to put a lead rope on them half the time to get them where I need them to go. That's probably been the biggest successful thing I've learned from all of them.
Yeah, absolutely. So one thing that people are often curious about is how this all works in a virtual program, Cindi. And what would you say to someone who might feel skeptical about learning something as personal and hands-on as Liberty and horse training through an online format? What worked for you in making that connection happen, even virtually?
I think it was probably better virtually because I had to really work at it and then try to video to send to you something to show you. And I mean, you were there. If I wasn't sure if it was correct or if it was wrong or whatever, I could still send it with the weekly assignment. I was able to, sometimes I would add several together, like, okay, we're doing this and this and this is good, but how do I do when she does this?
Right,
Having that and having you be able to send it back where I could re-review it, where you slow down the video and show where things are good, right, or wrong, and where to watch their feet and stuff like that. You don't always get that when you're on one-on-one, or you don't recall it. And the other thing is then the live lessons. I thought the PIVO was going to be a waste of money, and the PIVO was really great. And having the live lessons with you, so when you and I were working with getting her to canter, I would
oh,
never have pushed that much pressure myself, because we call it Mollie. I Mollie everything. I baby her because of the trauma she had before.
right,
And I don't necessarily have to baby her as much as I used to baby her.
right.
You can watch her body language to know, okay, if this is a time where she's tense, or is this a time where I just keep trying?
Right, for sure. Absolutely. And that's where I think that the support that I've given you has probably helped you with that too, is when it's okay to ask for a little bit more and when it's okay to back off and say, nope, that's good. And I think we talked about this before, is that about breaking it down and just really rewarding those smaller approximations towards the bigger goal, right? Even when we
Yeah.
did the canter, you want to talk a little bit about how we worked through that. Maybe mention, people might be curious to what that particular session might have looked like. What did we do?
Well, originally I had her trotting in a circle around me before. And when I tried to apply any pressure, she would just get scared and kind of either freeze or freak. And I'd kind of get tired and I'd kind of give up for a minute. And then once I give up, she was rewarded. So she didn't know she had to keep going. So she thought standing was the right thing to do. And when you work through that with me, keep applying the pressure, apply a little more pressure. And it's hard to see the second they start to canter. You get excited and it's hard to be like, oh, wait, stop and reward. And with you in my ear saying, okay, she got into that, the stop. Now go ahead and treat her, I think was the biggest thing. Just having the extra set of eyes,
Right.
and to keep me going when I was tired and ready just to plain give up and say, she's just not going to do this.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And I think I've heard that a few times from a few clients, is they would have gave up earlier because they would have been afraid of pushing it just a little bit further to get that. But as soon as we got it, we didn't say, "Oh, Mollie, you have to canter around us, multiple times." It was as soon as we got it, we rewarded
Right.
that.
My dog wants
Yes.
to be part of this.
Yeah. Yeah. So now that you've gone through this journey with Mollie, what's next for you two? What are you working on now? I know you have a couple of parts in the program that you're still finishing up, but how has this new connection changed your vision for the future with her?
She's a joy to work with. It's not, oh, I got to go try to catch her to bring her in, or what am I going to do? Just go through this motions. Before the program, I was at least doing just the basic groundwork to keep those fresh on her. And now it's something more to try. And I learned that I can teach her things and I can just keep working through what to teach her. It helped me break down in my mind what to do next and what to teach next. So I'm looking forward to doing a lot more just side passing and stuff at Liberty, trying to make our own little videos for ourselves for the fun. I may try some virtual challenges, Liberty challenges, the different patterns.
Good.
I'm not really ready to leave our two properties very much soon with her right now, but but we may start on that and then work it into with my other two horses. And I want to really do her. I have another Mustang that looks almost identical to her that I'd really love to get them doing circles together.
Yeah. So pairing
that's
them
more
up.
The long term. Yeah, the other one's got a little bit more work, but she's a smart learner. So I just got to designate the time for her. And that was the other thing with your program is I didn't spend a lot of time every day. I spent every day, but I didn't spend a lot of time every day. There was times it was 10 minutes and she would recall it the next day.
Right. Yeah. It doesn't take hours upon hours upon hours. I just talked about that in our weekly group coaching session the other night about the short things you can do while it's winter and still move towards that Liberty goal. There's still plenty of exercises you can teach your horse in 5 and 10 minutes in a day and still get something accomplished. We aren't always trotting in a circle and cantering in a circle. In fact, there's many other exercises that lead to that, so that you can do in 5 or 10 minutes. So hey, it might take you a little bit longer in some instances if your arena's frozen and you can't do the teach your horse how to circle around you. But if you only have a small space, there's lots you can do. So
well, we're working right now with one of my younger ones and just yielding his hindquarters or his front quarters to me, and we're doing it in the barn.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great place to do it. There's lots of things from the head down to the hindquarters towards to shoulders, all of those pieces. So well, Cindi, thank you so much for sharing your journey with Mollie. And I know it's going to inspire so many people out there who are just starting their Liberty training journey, or maybe even thinking about starting. And for everyone watching, if you've been on the fence about whether Liberty training can work for you and your horse, Cindi's story is proof that it's absolutely possible with the right tools, the right guidance, and the right mindset. So if you're ready to take that first step, I'd love to invite you to learn more about the Liberty experience. And it's the same step-by-step program that Cindi and others have used to achieve these amazing results with their horses. And it's designed to meet you exactly where you are. And I'm going to put a link in the comments if you'd like to book an action call with me and get more information about what the program looks like, how it can help you achieve your goals. Cindi, do you have any final comments for people who are on the fence and thinking about maybe joining my program?
I would just say to go ahead and do it. My biggest regret is waiting the extra 6 months after I originally was planning on doing it. So just do it. It creates a great experience with your horse. Like I said, Mollie used to run. Nobody else can catch her still, but me. But I catch her in seconds now. She comes running up to me. She comes when I call. It's a really, really great experience.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Well, Cindi, thank you again. It's been an absolute pleasure having you here tonight. And to everyone else that's been here, thank you. Thank you for joining us tonight. The replay will be available most likely either later this evening or tomorrow. But, until next time, everyone, happy training. And Cindi, I will see you soon. We'll talk to you. All right. Take care, everyone.